Alright, hey everybody, it's time to Nerfs and chill. In this video, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. It's going to be mostly ESO news in the form of the recent incremental patch notes 2 weeks into the Lost Steps DLC, otherwise known as Update 35. And we also will be talking about specific things like the Mars Balm nerf. We'll also be talking about other stuff with the game that happened after the incremental patch, and then lastly we'll talk about this ESO livestream coming up, which is pretty significant, as I'll tell you about. So let's look over at version 8.1.6, and they apparently fixed the issue where the effects from Crushing Wall, which is the Maelstrom staff, could be lost when bar swapping. This was reported, I believe, week 5 PTS, and they said they would resolve this with the first bi-weekly incremental. The Empower buff was being dropped from Oaken Soul after you were dying with it equipped, so you had to re-equip it. If you did die with Oaken Soul, they get Empower. And they also nerfed the healing from Mars Balm by about half, and we have actually confirmed this. And you can see the latest updated tooltips for all item sets and skills on the ESOU website right here. And it's reflected in this before and after picture that we took on the website. Previously was 2,280 health whenever a negative effect is removed from you, and now it's 1,027 health whenever a negative effect is removed from you. So let's keep going on through the patch notes. They fixed a few other things with group content, specifically newer dungeons where they did nerf the incoming damage and also the overall health of things in those dungeons. As said previously, these were the only itemization changes. Developer comment in regards to Mars Balm is that they're continuing to monitor the set's interaction with frequently applied debuffs, such as snares from taking abilities, and are attempting to find better overall solutions to ensure this set remains impactful when being afflicted with many incoming negative effects, but not overbearing in other cases. For those of you who don't know, Mars Balm, technically anything could be a cleanse. Even roll dodging will proc Mars Balm healing. The feedback from PvPers from week 1 until week 5 ETS for update 35 was that it was a broken set, it should be nerfed, and a lot of people will think, oh, the YouTubers made a video about it, so they nerfed it. No, it's legitimately actually apparently really bad, judging from the comment metrics and also the screenshots that people are taking. So they had to nerf it in half, but is that nerf enough? Well, as you'll find out here, a lot of people are saying it's not enough. So, because, again, due to how it procs, and due to the fact that it is affected by other passives, such as Major Mending, Minor Mending, class passives, and other sources of healing done and healing received, it's still a bit overbearing, it seems, at least in PvP. And Gina actually had to respond to the feedback from players in regards to the set, saying that she wants to thank all of us for taking the time to provide so much feedback on the item set, and they want to give us some insight in how they want to adjust the set. First, they're going to add a 1-second cooldown, as a lot of people have opined. And in addition to having to trigger a larger heal when the cleanse occurs, they're also going to increase the healing a bit from where it currently is. The design goal of this set is to apparently offer a steady stream of healing for when your character is having many negative effects applied to them, which is weird because a tooltip doesn't really clarify that, except I guess this part, when you take damage and have 6 or more negative effects, cleanse all negative effects. But I think the mechanism for doing that is a little busted. So this cooldown will still benefit from frequent incoming and outgoing effects, but now with a more consistent and predictable limit to effective healing at any given moment. So, and they add that we're still working out when we can publish this adjustment in a future incremental versus an update 36, but we'll keep you posted. I think there was another post right after that they will be able to get this into, yeah, there we go, into an incremental patch, so you won't need to wait until update 36 launches. So yeah, you'll people will see a much more nerfed version of Mars Balm. Exactly how useful it will be, don't know. We'll have to see, I guess, once the set actually makes it to live. Alright, so a couple more things I want to talk about after the bi-weekly incremental. In general, after Update 35 launched, there were some ongoing issues with the game. So there's been some issues that with duplicating things from the login rewards. I believe that they are not really going to take much action against most of the people who did encounter that particular duping issue. As I said here, this means you may need to redo any endeavors that have been previously reset, and you can keep any items you acquired outside of any abusive one-off situations. We'll be keeping an eye on everything once we open, and we'll provide any additional updates as needed. In regards to all that, we also do have something here, I believe, that is kind of noteworthy. That Rapid Deluge explodes the whole group in Teleria Dreadsail, even when people are swimming and full health. And I actually kind of noticed this too, and asked if they have any Wood Elves or Bretons that are of short stature, because apparently the Goblin Polymorph does affect the Rapid Deluge mechanic in not consistently working and exploding people. But it seems after the Bi-Weekly Incremental that even without the Goblin Polymorph present in the group, Deluge can still go off even though people are fulfilling the same mechanic. QSL noted that they tested proximity between players. They also turned on or off the Goblin Polymorphs, and they also swam versus standing still in water, just to kind of like test if this mechanic is consistent, and apparently not. It might be a new bug for those of you doing VDSR or VDSR hard mode. I'm not exactly sure if it's just VDSR hard mode. I think it's VDSR hard mode, so we'll see. Alright, other than that, this is the next biggest piece of news. So, ESO Live, September 16th at 2:30 p.m. US Eastern, the Fire Song and Update 36 preview. Okay, so the first clue is in the title of this article, Update 36 preview. I'm just gonna read this real quick, just skimming through. So tune in this Friday, September 16th, for a special ESO Live as we preview the upcoming Legacy of the Bread and Story DLC. So the intent of this live stream, much like with most of the other Quarter 4 DLC live streams, is to put a spotlight on the content itself, meaning overland stuff. That's why they're bringing in people like the Zone Lead, Jason Barnes, and also the lead writer, kind of overviewing the story and what was the work behind the scenes on the dev end for making this possible. All really cool stuff. I don't think they'll do a live stream focused on the combat aspect of ESO in regards to Update 35, and that's kind of where the whole Update 35 Q&A kind of thing is supposed to come in, right? It was about last month, or a little before last month, where I believe Kevin and also Gina said, hey, you know, we understand everyone's frustrated, and that there's a lot of questions about why are we doing Update 35 and the way we are. And we want to do a Q&A. And a lot of people are wondering at this point, well, what happened with that Q&A? Because it was basically like, okay, you know, we'll get back to you. And Kevin, I believe August 16th, and as of this recording of this video, it is September 12th to 13th, that they're still working on this. It was not missed. We're making sure we work to address core issues overall. And also, just to clarify, they'll be addressing core questions around Update 35 combat changes overall, not specific changes. And I think a lot of people are still waiting for the Q&A. I'm still of the opinion that a Q&A won't really do anything, and that I'd rather see a much more detailed outline or roadmap of where the combat developer team wants to take this game. That's it. I think I just want to see what their overall vision is. I don't really care what the little changes or big changes are along the way, as long as I understand where it's going. I think a Q&A, I have no idea how Q&A is gonna like satisfy anyone or a lot of people. I'm sure it'll satisfy some people, but I don't think it'll satisfy me in particular, or people who are in this for the long term. I think, again, I think it's very reasonable, and I think it'd be very rational people to say, okay, you know, myself included, like, okay, I guess I don't agree with your vision, but I can respect that you have a vision. That's where we're at this point. right? Back in Morrowind for E3, they basically said that ESO is going to be made or geared towards cyclical players, more so than long-term players or the veteran players. And I was okay with that. That's their vision. Okay, that's cool. For the content and stuff like that. That's whatever. I can respect that. I can stick with it. At this point, we just don't know what the vision is. And the fact that I feel like it's taken... Because a lot of people are pointing this out at this point, and it's going to become more annoying as time goes on because people keep bringing it up. But if it's taken basically a month to get back to players with a Q&A about what their vision is and stuff like that, a lot of people are probably questioning, well, and are questioning in like my YouTube comment section and shit, like, well, okay, if it's taking them so long to get back to us about just a Q&A or whatever, did they really have a long-term vision in mind? So there's a lot of doubts. I feel like the longer they wait with this Q&A, or at least saying something about the Q&A, the worse it's gonna get. That sucks, right? So yeah, that's kind of where the Q&A stands, it seems like, because now, as you can see, they're going to give us a tour around the DLC's, Coder 4 DLC's new zone, and a quick overview of the story thus far. And while they don't mention it here in this article, as predicted by myself and other content creators, the regular schedule or cadence of content release for ESO was pushed back by a week since High Isle compared to 2021. Meaning, if we're looking at similar datelines or weeks compared to last year, everything's pushed back by a week. And we predicted that, hey, quarter 4 PTS is actually going to be like right after quarter 3 DLC comes out, and that's September 19th this year, not September 12th or 13th. And it looks like that's the exact case. It's just as we predicted, or maybe something will happen. But if it's Friday, September 16th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern this Friday, what usually happens with the quarter 4 sneak peek is that they'll also release a combat preview post for update 36 on the forums. With I think with the stream or right after the stream, or even before maybe. And of course, as we all know, after the Friday combat preview goes live, the Monday PTS cycle starts for the next quarter. So yes, update 36 PTS is already here. It's going to be another roughly less than 2 months before the next quarter is here. And then quarter 4 is typically the longest part of the quarterly cycle for ESO, simply because of New Year's, Christmas, winter break, and some other shit along the way. I think we get an extra 1 or 2.5 more weeks than the other quarters. Like quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 1 are a lot shorter, or noticeably shorter, sorry, than quarter 4. So whatever happens with quarter 4 in terms of combat changes and whatever is typically gonna be probably it until quarter 1. And if they want to do large scale changes, they'll probably reserve it, as they said or insinuated, for after the next chapter launch, which still kind of doesn't make sense to me in some ways. I get where they're coming from on that one, but it doesn't make sense to me because it's like, well, the patch after the biggest patch of the year shouldn't have so many changes, because you're literally bringing everyone back for the chapter. There's a new trial coming out. If that's somehow adversely affected by a lot of combat changes or swings, then it's just more confusing and more detrimental, as we've seen actually with update 35, update 34 to 5. It's been pretty hard on a lot of guilds and a lot of GMs I know, and a lot of raid leads. It's really hard right now because a lot of people quit or are taking a break, and I think that's also in turn affected other kinds of guilds, even the less hardcore guilds, I think I've heard are struggling, and that of course affects other aspects of the game like trade guilds and stuff like that. So yeah, update 36 is pretty much here. I really hope the combat preview, if there is one, I also think there shouldn't be a combat preview. I just think there should just be patch notes, and that's it. I feel like, given what happened with the update 35 combat preview post, it's just better that way. honestly, rather than letting people speculate and fucking go crazy over the weekend. Or as with Update 35, it was a Wednesday post, which meant more time for people to speculate and go a little crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, that's all I have for you guys today in this video for ESO. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on Friday. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the next patch. There's 3 choices that ZeniMax Online Studios can do in terms of combat development. They can, 1, double down on the changes that they were trying to carry out in Update 35, meaning that they have to, again, probably go through a lot of feedback again or something. Number 2, revert a lot of changes from Update 35. And number 3, probably do nothing. So those are all those are 3 all very valid choices, and yeah, it's a tough spot. So we'll see. And I'm actually kind of also curious about what the Quarter 4 DLC zone looks like. And I guess that kind of is a segue into what we think is the next chapter. Because obviously after Quarter 4, it's going to be, okay, now, what's the next chapter? Yeah. Thank you for watching.